Hey everyone, today we're going to be talking about blogs, specifically how you can make money from blogs, how you can make passive income from blogs, and why blogs are beneficial. Now, blogs are definitely not for everyone, and there's a certain, I guess you could say, benefit of owning blogs is that it's what I call flexible income. It's very, very flexible. The reason why I say this is because my main occupation, I guess you could say, the thing that I do on a day-to-day basis is I own a portfolio of blogs. I own over 60 plus websites right now, and my goal is to get to 100 by the end of this year. May or may not happen, who knows, but I'm trying my best, and that's why YouTube has been something that I've been kind of putting off, and that's why I had this challenge that I did in this last month to try to upload as much as I can. I shot for 60 posts. As you guys know, I didn't make it, but, I tried my best. So, with that being said, blogs is one of those things where you write content online, right? And that content turns into money. Now, I don't want it to sound like a get-rich-quick scheme, because it's definitely not. And I don't want it to sound like a get-rich-easy scheme, because it's definitely not either. Now, you can be very financially well off when it comes to blogging, because simply there's many ways to make money. A lot of the people who watch this YouTube channel come from the print-on-demand world. In fact, pretty much everybody does. And print-on-demand is one of those things that you actually can make money relatively quickly. It just gets progressively harder to make more and more money. Now, that's pretty much fair for pretty much every business. But blogging is one of those things when you do everything right, the algorithms are going to be on your side. Now, it's strenuous. It takes a lot of time, takes a lot of energy, but there's ways around those kind of things where you can shortcut it to, I guess you could say, a practical approach. Not everybody is going to do blogging, but not everybody's going to, not make money either. I mean, a lot of people think that it's super hard, it takes super long, and it takes forever to make some kind of money, and that's not really true. It really just depends on your approach to the blog, right? And so we'll kind of go over these things. I want to showcase a website for you that I have created here over the last, let's say, since late February. And if you're wondering why I'm saying February and yet we have blog posts since 2023 of last February, is because we didn't actually create these blog posts in February of 2023. We actually created it, like I said, in February of this year, but you can choose the date of when these upload. And because we created so many blog posts in one shot, right? We wanted to switch up the dates for an algorithmic perspective. Now, that's like a little advanced. I don't want to talk about the algorithm here, but this is a blog that I've kind of stopped halfway through. We really have to add about 300 to maybe at least 200 more blog posts to this. Now, what I usually preach on blogging is that blogging is, like I said, a way to earn income. And different blogs, because of their niches, have different game plans and long-term plans. And so if you want to start a blog, you first have to pick and say, okay, do I want to create a niche site or do I want to create a long-term site? Now, this site right here is more of a long-term site, although it can be somewhat niche. My game plan for this is going to be something that's a little bit more long-term. Why do I say that? It's because I'm going wide with my niche, not deep. And I have to explain the difference between this. Is if you want to start a blog, I'm going to get into this before I even talk about the money, is very, very quickly, is that when you select a niche for your blog, you have two selections. You have going deep and you have going wide, okay? So the blog here is called Exotics Pet Club, and this is once again an example. I could talk about all the different pets and talk about how they can be exotic pets, right? And that's an example of going wide. I could talk about tigers, because there are some people that have tigers as pets. I could talk about lions. I could talk about lizards. I could talk about exotic dogs. There's a lot I could talk about there, right? But going deep is if I pick one type of exotic pet and go really, really deep into mastering that exotic pet. So if I were to talk about having tigers as exotic pets, I can talk everything about that, how they eat, what time they sleep, their medicine, if they take any medicine, how should be raised, what kind of lifestyle they've had, things like that, right? So now you kind of understand the difference between going wide and going deep. If you want to make money as fast as possible when it comes to a blog, you're going to have to go deep and you're not going to go wide. If you have a long-term game plan with a blog, you're going to go wide, you're not going to go deep. So both make money. It just depends on the time horizon and how large you expect that website to grow. Websites that typically go deep typically don't go as wide, right? Which makes sense. It's very, very specific towards a certain niche. Now, how can this help you? You're watching this. You probably sell stuff on print on demand. How can this help? Well, aside from just print on demand, this could be another revenue source for you, starting a blog, or it could be something that grows your current revenue streams. Think about it. If you own a Redbubble store, or you own an Etsy shop, right, as an example, or let's say you're flexible and you have a bunch of different platforms that you're creating stuff on, right? Just a bunch. Like you have a Zazzle store. Let's say you have Society6 store. You have a, what else? What can we add to this? Let's say a TeePublic store, right? So you have, 5 different options here. You probably have more out there. Maybe some of you guys have merch by Amazon. I could list different things. It doesn't really matter. But let's say you have all these shops. Well, one way that you could drive traffic to these shops is through a blog. Now, once again, a blog is going to be that website that's going to drive the visitors, the initial attention. And the attention is then going to siphon into these shops. Now, how does that work? How does this logically work? If you guys remember one of my original Redbubble stores that I got my first sale on within 16 hours of using like an Instagram tool to help me grow the account on Instagram, and then I siphon traffic from the Instagram account to the Redbubble store, that account has over 4,000 sales on Redbubble. At least to date, it has over 4,000. And when I was working on that Redbubble store, I barely did any designs. I think I have maybe like 160 of them. And once again, it was purely for YouTube demo purposes to show people tutorials and things like that without exposing my actual accounts. So how did I get there? Well, one of the things is that I used a blog to drive traffic to the Redbubble store. And the way it worked was pretty simple. On my Redbubble store, if you look at some of the designs, once again, from my old school YouTube videos about Redbubble, there are a lot of like mental, stoic, mental discipline type designs, like quotes from different philosophers, Marcus Aurelius, people like that, right? And like, for example, the obstacle becomes the way. Things, you guys know what I'm talking about, things like that. Well, it just so happened that I had a mental health blog, right? I had a website that's all about building discipline, mentality, being stoic, etc. All it took was a few minutes for me to plug in my products in my blog posts, on different banners on my blog. So little context here. When you have a blog, you have a blog page, right? And you have usually an image or a banner that represents the blog, and then here you have the title. And then depending on how you design the blog, you have a little side banner. And then here's the rest of the content, right? And you can scroll down to keep reading. Well, on the side banners, I would recommend certain phone cases with certain quotes on them that aligned with the theme of what's actually being written in the blog posts. Now, once again, mind you, these blog posts were already written. So I was already receiving attention for the blog posts, and all I did was plug in the products that I had newly created, and then the new visitors saw these new products and ended up purchasing them. Now, this doesn't always happen. You have to keep in mind how this actually works, is that if somebody's in the market and is interested in what I'm having to offer in a blog post, they might happen to be interested in the physical products that I have to offer. Think of it like this. Imagine you are imagine you go to a church. Let's just put it this way, right? Imagine you go to a church, and you go to a church for one main reason, right? To pray, to whatever. And let's say one day at the church, there's certain church type memorabilia is being sold at a church shop. Those products could potentially interest you because they're in the same niche of stuff that you already enjoy. It's the same concept as if imagine you buy season tickets to a Lakers game, right? Season ticket Lakers game. And you're coming to every single Lakers game. If the Lakers end up selling t-shirts or jerseys, it's most likely that you're going to buy products like that as well. hats maybe. Why? Because you're already interested in the main concept. So when I have a blog post about how to build discipline or how to work harder, or whatever the case may be on that site, and they happen to see a phone case or a t-shirt or whatever product you want to fill in there that relates to that blog post about mental health, about discipline, about becoming stronger, becoming better, etc., then all of a sudden that product is more interest because it's more aligned with the customer values. And that's what it is. It's alignment. People in the car business, they sell cars, they'll say you have to know what the consumer wants and give them what they want. So if a customer walks in and they want something fast, they're looking for a sports car. If somebody's concerned about the cost, then they're looking for something more economy, like an economy type car, 4-cylinder, something that can help you save money. So you give people what they want. I'm not trying to convince them of something that they're not interested in, but that's how money is being made. Now for blogs, physical products are not the only thing that you could sell. And this is why I say one of the big benefits of having a blog is not only earning more, but diversifying. So you guys know me. If you guys watch my channel a lot, you guys know I'm a big junkie on diversifying. Part of the reason why I am is because when I sold my first business, which was my only business at the time, I had nothing else. And not only did I get a little bit depressed, but I got bored. And so I was like, okay, this is never going to happen to me again. I want something to do. I'm not, it's just boring now. So diversifying is one of the keys. And I've said this before, but I would much rather have 10 different stores that make me $1,000 each and create $10,000 a month versus one store making me $20,000 a month. Because if that one store dies that's making me $20,000 a month, well, then everything is dead in that case. But if I have one or two stores that die from making me $10K a month, so what? I'm still making money. I'm still bringing in income. Now, that's a little bit of a mind flip for some people because I'm willing to take a 50% pay cut, but in blogging, it's no different, right? So a lot of people think that I only do print on demand because those are really the only kind of videos I make. But really, my only main concern is blogging. That's the only thing I really go hard on every single day. And when I say that, a lot of people get confused. They say, you don't go hard on print on demand? I do, but remember, it's a hustle. It's a side concept. It's not my main. My main is blogs. So how do I diversify in the blogging world? I have many different blogs. In fact, I have a portfolio of over 60 different websites, not posts, but websites. So a lot of people say when they think of a blog, they think of a blog post. I'm not talking about a blog post. I'm talking about blog websites. ExoticsPetClub.com is one of them, and this is a baby website. Like I said, it's in existence for maybe 2-3 months maximum. This has not really been around for a long time. And like I said, I guess I burnt myself out on this a little bit because I told my VA to work as hard as you can on this. They worked so hard, and then we kind of gave up, but we just brought our attention elsewhere, which is fine. But anyways, when I'm building these blogs, I want to touch different markets, different niches, and I have them on different concepts. Now, in your case, if you're watching this, if you don't have a blog, that's okay. Don't have to worry about creating multiple sites. But what you might want to think about is how do I diversify? What am I currently bringing in today? So if let's say you have a job, right? Which is great. It's a blessing. If you have an income source, that's a job. And let's say and I'm just going to write the word income here, right? Income. And let's put a box around this. And your first source is your job. Now let's say you do a little bit on merch by Amazon, right? Let's say you do a little bit more merch by Amazon. And let's say you have a TeePublic account maybe bringing you some sales. And let's say you're playing around with Redbubble a little bit. And maybe you've tried Society6 at one point. This is just an example. I'm just throwing random stuff out there. Well, if your job occupies, let's say, 96% of your income, are you really diversified in this case? The answer is probably not, right? Because it holds 95%. But what if, for example, you've given enough time to other sources to where maybe your job holds 55%? Well, then in this case, yeah, you might be diversified a lot more and a lot safer because your income comes from different areas. One thing I've started to really notice is in today's world, in 2024, a lot of people don't look at their job as something that's going to be forever. And I know that sounds crazy to some people, but especially the younger generations, maybe like people who are 45 and younger, usually what statistics show is that they'll work for a year or two or even 3 at the current job place, and then they'll go look for another job that can pay them more. And that's kind of how they move upward. They have more upward mobility in the job marketplace to get paid more, because their current facility, their current place that they're working at is not going to pay them as much. Now, obviously, this is different for people who work for the city. Whatever city you're in, if you're a government-based job, this is very different. A lot of people stick with those jobs for a very long time, sometimes even up until retirement, which is a great thing as well. But for private organizations, that's mostly the case. Now, if you're aware of the current situation you're in, where anybody is expendable, and I know a lot of you agree with me in the current job market, then you're probably going to want to diversify as much as you can. Like I said, this is not how the world used to be, right? Back in the year 1998, people didn't do this. People got a job, stuck it to that place for the rest of their life, got their retirement, lived a great life, and did great. But the world doesn't exist like that. You're much more expendable. People get laid off from Facebook now, Microsoft, which once are great companies, great jobs, but they just don't last. So what's the move? The move is trying to diversify. And you guys already know about certain ways you can diversify. Print on demand is one of them. But if you add an extra arm to this and you start a blog, how can you actually be successful at this? How much work do you have to do on a daily basis to move the needle in your life? Well, there's 2 ways, like I said, to start a blog. And I don't know if I said this earlier in this video. Maybe I'm getting amnesia. But there's 2 types. There's going wide and there's going deep. And I think I've already said this, right? But going deep is where I'm really, really focusing on one niche. And this is the strategy that I would recommend most people to start a blog. Meaning, if you sell products, let's say on Redbubble, and it's about mental health, and I'll use that example because it's a simple, easy example. If it's about mental health and you want to grow those sales, an easy way to do this is just create a blog around those mental health concepts and create posts around those and only stick to that. Don't write about anything else. And when you do that and you have the blog posts that are created, you can now make more money on those sales. Well, how long does it actually take to make money on the sales or on the blogs? Well, I actually say it like this. You can start getting traffic within the end of the first month that you have a blog. But it's very, very small in numbers. See, Google is testing your site. You might get a visitor or 2 or even 3 or 5 or 6. But that we're speaking organically here. We're not speaking from a social media perspective or anything like that. We're speaking purely organic. Meaning if I search something on Google, right? Here's a little magnifying glass, and I search something on Google, your blog pops up, I click on it, you might get 5, 6, 7 visitors, right? The first month. But month after month after month, it tends to grow. So it's like month 1, month 2, month 3, month 4, month 5, right? You might struggle a little bit, month 6, month 7, you might go up a little more, and then month 8 is you have a huge increase. And this is what typically tends to happen. There's a certain point of time, it doesn't always have to be 8 months in, but you start to grow like a lot faster than you used to. Why? Because Google has been testing every single one of your links since its inception. What you do is you create something called a sitemap. I don't want to get too complicated here, but once you create a website and you start posting blogs, you have something called a sitemap that you give to Google. And Google already has data, but when you give it to them, you're basically telling them, hey, I want to rank for these pages. And Google picks up these pages, understands the keywords associated with them, understanding what you're trying to rank for, and over time they start to test you amongst your competitors. And of course, may the victor have all the spoils, and so the top website that gets the top interaction is the one that has that first place and gets the most attention. The only time I actually paid attention to Google and how valuable it was before I ever knew anything about it was in the very beginning of my first business. I knew that I didn't have any money for ads. I knew that I didn't have any followers for social media, and I knew it would take time to build. But I asked myself one thing. I said, what if people can search for what my product is and find it on Google? How can I get there? And boom, that's when it started, when I started to learn about what SEO is. SEO stands for Search Engine Optimization. And basically all this means is that you're optimizing your website for a search engine. What's a search engine? Well, Google's a search engine. Anything you type in the search bar, Results come up, that's a search engine. And so I actually posted on my YouTube channel a 2-hour free course. Let's go to YouTube and let's actually show it to you guys. YouTube.com on SEO. So if we type in autopilot passive income and we go here, hey guys, to videos, there we go, 2-hour free SEO course. And this course right here, I'm not going to say it's going to solve all your problems, but it's going to get you understanding how SEO works from an algorithmic technical perspective. But really, if you have no technical experience and you don't want to get any, just understand this. The more specific you write your content about and the better you serve a need, the higher chance you'll have at ranking on Google. It's not always as complicated or as hard as people make it out to be. Don't get me wrong, it can be difficult, but I make it as easy on myself as I possibly can do it. And the way it works is very, very simple. I go to places where people are not talking about, people are not creating content on, and I just create content on that. That's exactly kind of like my formula in a one-line summary. And there's a lot of technicalities that could be behind it that some people want some more information on, and I've shared some of that information. But really, to make it as simple as possible is, I'll give you an example. Treadmills. I have a treadmill review website, and I review different treadmills, right? And I've noticed that there are a lot of websites out there that do the same, but they don't compare certain treadmill brands and certain treadmill versions of those brands. So I started doing that, and I started getting attention for it, and I started getting affiliate clicks and sales for selling certain kinds of treadmills. So I would compare two treadmills. I'll talk about the pros, I'll talk about the cons, I take pictures of them, I take videos of them. I do all kinds of content around it, and I'd post it all on this website. And the website then makes me money because people are reading the blog about certain treadmills, and they're curious to find out, like what's better, what's worse. I would review ones on Amazon, get commissions from them. And then what I would do is I would get affiliate links from certain websites that are selling treadmills. Then I get a little bit higher commissions and things like that. But that's one example. Now, you don't have to do treadmills. You don't even have to promote your Merch by Amazon, TeePublic, Redbubble stores, print-on-demand stores. You could start by selling digital products. You can start by selling physical products. The most important thing is you have to have some sort of game plan to the money. How are you actually going to make money? And when I say that, some people cringe because they think like money is a bad thing or they have a bad relationship with money, and I completely understand. But trust me, not all people who make a lot of money are bad people. It's just a matter of, just the work behind it. And so I get what you're, thinking. Some people think, people with money are bad, or money is the root of all evil, and that's not necessarily the case. Everybody's different with the hand that they're dealt. And I'll say this, is that you can make a lot of money, and that doesn't make you a bad person. And Google could definitely be the thing, or really blogging, because who knows, maybe 20 years from now, it's not going to be Google, but blogging could be the thing that changes that for you. Print on demand, if I was to compare it to blogging, is that print on demand is faster money initially than blogging, but it's lower amounts in the long term. Now, when I say that, you have to take that with a grain of salt, because I'm comparing it to how most people do print on demand, which is marketplace type. So they start at Redbubble store, they start a TeePublic store, they even do some work on Merch by Amazon. With blogging, right, it's much different. For the first 6 to 8 months, I might not be making any significant source of income. I might be making $50, $60, $100, $200, maybe even $500 here and there. And we're talking about purely organic blogs. We're not talking about blogs that have been perked up through social media. I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about organic. But with print on demand over time, you could start making pretty early on really good money. There's been a lot of examples of that on my channel, and even other people's channels. You could do really well early on. If you even take it to website building, print on demand, that's completely different. Now you're in a whole different stratosphere as to how much income you could really produce. But blogging, like I said, in the beginning, it's not that much. But over time, that's when things start to really pile up. If you're over a year, 2 years, maybe even 3 years into blogging, you can develop more than a full-time income easily off of one site. And I don't say that to, once again, give people a fake narrative or a fake story. You absolutely can do it because I've done it, number one. And even if we were to take out the 1% people that happen to have major success, most people who stick to a blog for 2-3 years do have very well financial success. Maybe it's not covering 100% of their income that they would normally get at a job, but they do well. 50%, 40%, 60%. It's very significant. It's definitely not something to joke about. It's very serious. So all it comes down to for me personally is I find what other people are not blogging about. I come up with a concept and I do that for the most part. And that has worked for me wonders over the years. And a lot of people complain about like high competition or not ranking on Google. And once again, that ethos, that thesis that I just said about basically creating blogs that other people are not blogging about has been my cornerstone to success when it comes down to blogging. And as soon as I feel like I'm satisfied with the amount of work that I did on one blog, I create another website. Then I create another one, and I create another one. And like I said, different blogs are created differently for me. Some blogs I have more of a long-term approach that I know I'm going to profit on later down the road, maybe 5-4 years down the road. But some blogs are created to make money here and now, and within 2 months, I'm producing an income off of it. So every blog is a little bit different for me. But like I said, if you guys want to have a head start, this is essentially how you start a blog. I'll leave some links, I'll leave some resources in the description box down below for you guys to get started if you're interested. Of course, once again, it's something that's more long-term. It's definitely not get rich quick by any means, but you can definitely get rich over time with blogging. And I mean to say that in the most honest way possible if you can stick to it. I know consistency is one of the hardest parts when it comes to it. All right. I'll talk to you guys later. Thank you guys for watching, and peace out. Bye.